Welcome back from the break. You've reached the halfway point on this episode of Pivotal Change, and we've got a new guest with us who we're going to have a very exciting conversation with. We've got Kirk Jaffe. Now, he is an expert in real estate and mortgage lending and help with financial planning. He's got a pretty distinguished career. He's a professional that's been in California and now Nevada, and he helps people streamline things all over the country. He helps with business consulting, he helps with strategy, corporate governance, and a really, really heavy player in the real estate game. So, Kirk, welcome to the show. I can't wait to have this conversation.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
My pleasure. So, what I'd also like to do is I'd also like to tell us a little bit more about yourself because I always tend to sell people short. You've got a lot of really good character traits in what you do and how you help people, and just expand on that for just a second for us.
Yeah, my career has really been based on navigating the river of change. So 2008, I had a mortgage company. In 2008, the entire world economic platform collapsed and I had to figure out change. So it went from that to running the third largest default loan servicer in the United States, where I personally signed on 250,000 foreclosure files, serviced over $200 million of loans, and really took what I call a PhD in real estate. And as the river shifted again, I took all that information, all that ability, and today I do it for myself and for my clients that I'm consulting, either in building family offices or helping them through their business struggles and helping them grow effectively and permanently. And that's what I do. Still do real estate. We build houses, custom built houses. We'll tell you more about that. But love real estate, mortgage, can't get away from it. And it's essential to knowing your financing and your real estate if you're going to try and grow a business. They go
I
together.
love that. I love that. And out of everything you just said, probably the thing that just made me almost like a little kid giggle is that you said the permanence, right? To help build the permanence of it instead of just these roller coaster rides that unfortunately a lot of startups or entrepreneurs can get themselves into. And then real estate is for everybody. Literally, we all have to have something over our head. So what I like to do is kind of jump into these questions so we can start getting that expertise to help people get their pivotal change. So let's talk about real estate right from the get go and specifically about the transactions. So if we're looking at real estate, there are some of these most common challenges that people are going to face during this real estate transaction. Can you tell us what a couple of those common challenges are and then how you help them overcome them?
Yeah, I've written several books about this too. You can get them off Amazon, or if someone reaches out to me, Kirk at kirkjaffe.com, happy to send them copies of the books. You could scan that QR code that's there behind me too. That'll take in my card. So most important thing about the real estate transaction is controlling the vendors. As a consumer, you want to really know what the capabilities of your loan officer is on the mortgage side and how that integrates with your CPA on the reporting side when you go to time to do taxes. And then know all and understand that every mortgage transaction, every real estate transaction has somewhere between 1,500 and 3,000 communications. People don't realize the amount that goes back and forth between the agent and the mortgage and the escrow and the title and the inspectors. Files are often, just 6 inches thick by the time they're done. So as a consumer or a business owner, understanding that our job is to quarterback and make sure we're communicating clearly with all the different entities is really what makes transactions go successfully.
I really can appreciate that. People are not going to understand what truly goes into every portion of the process. And that if they let the communication down or don't have the experts that are going to forward that communication for them, there's going to be some big gaps in what they're trying to accomplish. Like you said, whether it's residential or commercial, and that's a big part where the communication breaks down. You're bound to somehow experience some type of failure. So when getting into that, how does somebody determine the right person or the right set of experts to go with, just like when the right time to even buy or sell a property is?
Yeah, a lot of it is do your work ahead of time. So I'm just starting out a transaction. I've been in a transaction for about 5 months to buy a company there in College Station. And we love the owner and we're all getting along great and we're actually working very closely together. Now it's time to make the purchase. So I've already started working with the SBA lenders to make this purchase, knowing that it's going to take me another 60 or 90 days before I'm ready to submit the file. And so have the meeting before the meeting. Send your file in to a lender, find out how they underwrite it and what the problems are going to be so you can adjust to them. The other thing you find out is if you like the lender. If they're not cooperative, they don't communicate, you don't feel like they're part of your team, it gives you an opportunity to get out of the way. So that avoids a problem.
I like that. So you're actually when prepping for the lender, you're actually showing your cards a little bit ahead of time, saying, "Hey, this is the transaction I'm getting ready to undertake and get into." And of course, you specifically mentioned the SBA, which most people watching this may not be aware. They're a little slower than the average lender, right? It's like steering a cruise ship when you're working with the SBA and the government than it is possibly local branches of lenders and banks. And so that's something where you need to prepare for that process, have all your ducks in a row, because it seems like in the average business deal, there's always one more document needed, one more thing needed. And you want to have that whole package ready so you don't have to wait extra time on top of the already delayed periods for underwriting. So that's a really good point to have made. Um, so, what steps can the individuals take outside of the preparation from identifying the wrong person in just the communication? Because up front, they want to make a deal. They probably sound pretty good. Are there any red flags, orange flags people need to be looking out for when engaging with either people that are going to be underwriting the loan, the attorneys that are going to be drawing it up, agents, anything like that?
Yeah, I think it's all relationships. So, don't be afraid to show your cards. If you're doing a private money loan of a big commercial type,
Yeah.
then you have to be a little careful because it's a very small community and they leverage each other. The private money lenders leverage each other to find out reasons why they don't need to make the loan, regardless of what profit they can make. So that's a little bit careful. But if you're dealing with a normal transaction, commercial transaction, buying a property using commercial banks, don't be afraid. Get in there and talk to them and be open with them because you'll find out real quick who you like working with, who you don't like working with, and you'll understand the questions they're asking and whether or not they make sense to your particular scenario. Everyone's got a different, file. Every file is unique. I've done 17,000 loan transactions in my career, commercial, residential, industrial, construction, everything that can be done, I've done it. And I can only tell you one thing, every file is its own story. So work on the story of your file, not what you think someone else got down the street, not what the underwriter tells you that they think it should be. Make it your own. And don't be afraid to stand your ground on that.
I really like that, and I actually want to expand before I get too far away. Is that know your situation? Every situation is unique. 17,000. That's a lot of reps. That's like you said. You've earned your PhD, and in the accounting world, we're the same thing. We're going to go advise you on your unique situation, right? We're not going to try to force you to customize to our system, and we're not going to make sure that we just completely head over heels fall into whatever you want us to do. There's a relationship and a give and take back there, and we're going to work collaboratively together to get you to that goal. And in this goal is the real estate game and some of that advisement that comes along with that. So that's a really good point. And you said stand your ground. Could you just expand a little bit on that? Where would somebody find a need to do that?
Yeah, I hear a lot of stories, and I have seen a lot of stories over the years. 25 years I've been doing mortgage financing of different types. So you see them all through different cycles. One of the things that I still see that always concerns me is you'll get to a banker who will encourage you to shift your file away from what it is so that it fits the guidelines.
Mm.
And sometimes that's not the best thing to do for a lot of different reasons. So that's what I mean by, don't be afraid to stand your ground. If you know that what you're presenting to the bank is just not in alignment with what you're trying to do, don't let someone talk you into it because they're trying to get paid a commission.
Right.
Most lenders, they make their money off commission and a small base salary in some cases. They work at a big bank, but they're trying to get deals done and they have quotas. And so they're going to try and make your deal fit their quota so they get credit and get paid. But that's not always the best thing for you. And the worst thing that could ever happen to a small business owner, that's what we're talking about here, is have a loan called due, which I just saw a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
I'm on a regulatory list with all the compliance personnel from all these different banks around the country. And one of the questions came up, uh, a file was manipulated. The borrower lied about the income coming from the rental income. The bank
Mm.
found out about it and now they've called the loan due. And who's responsible? Is the lender that wrote the loan responsible to buy back the loan and continue servicing it? Or is it just going to get bought back and that's going to go back on the owner? And the answer to the question is really, it's all of it. There's something called subrogation, which means one entity can pass the responsibility on to the next entity until someone pays, right?
Yep.
Title companies do this all the time. Insurance companies do it. So your insurance is not going to cover you. Your title is not going to cover you in this scenario. The bank is definitely going to come after you because they don't have the wherewithal to buy that loan back. Most of these small bankers are working on very thin margins. So
Yes.
again, that's a perfect example of somebody that probably was told, oh, just inflate the income. It's no big deal. It's reasonable for the area, right up until the time that the company that bought the loan, and put it in their portfolio found out that the income wasn't there. And they go, we
Mhm.
don't want this loan anymore. Bye.
I, I think that's most business owners, that especially when you're in the small business, the first 5 or 10 years of your journey, having a loan called due when you've probably just established your cash flow, you're making ends meet, life might possibly be good, and then an error and a dumb decision through wrongful advisement, man, it claws everything back, and that could be pretty catastrophic. So, um, in picking a lender, is there well, you pretty well cover that about the way to make sure you're not shifting yourself and staying your ground. And this is who I am. And if it doesn't fit for them and they're just trying to make their quota, just keep getting quotes, keep getting bids, and move to the next lender. So, is there resources to find who the next lender might be if I don't like the one I'm talking to?
Yeah, this is why I wrote the book. I wrote a book, How to Get Approved for Your Loan in 21 Days or Less Guaranteed. And this is what it's all about. How does a consumer go step by step and build their own loan file? And all the questions are in the book. You can get it on Amazon. Again, if you just email me, I'm happy to send you a digital copy as well. You can get my information from the QR code or kirk@kirkjaffe.com. Um, but the way to do it is really talk to your team. It's that relationship. You're going to find out very quickly if your CPA is unwilling to produce what you think you need to produce to get a
Mhm.
loan in place. They're going to push back because they have a license and a responsibility too.
Right.
So, right, leverage your team. For years, 25 years, I've been helping clients put a collective team around them. And it's your CPA, it's your attorney, it's everything you mentioned, Ryan. It's your lender, it's your attorney, CPA. Um, it's also understanding how you're structured. If you're a small business and you're operating out of an LLC, that's your whole world. That's a little different than if you're operating of a trust or a family foundation, the
Kirk,
way
let
it
me jump
functions.
in right here because this is a really good spot. We're really getting ready to talk about the very next topic that I'm going to ask you about. So, what I want to do is I want to cut us to commercial break. We'll get a clean slate. I'm talking about what you're rolling into. Everyone sit tight. We'll be right back for the final segment and more Kirk on Pivotal Change.